Continuing on in the self-publishing audiobook series, we are exploring various avenues. Last week we talked about audiobook creation exchange, so why don't we transition over to another popular audiobook publishing platform called Findaway Voices by Spotify. Oh, I've talked about them quite a bit. If you haven't tuned into this podcast before, you're definitely going to be in for a couple of reminders about what's going on with Findaway Voices by Spotify, some great features that they have, some less than great features that have happened this year so far, and everything else in between. And we will continue to build out this audiobook publishing series because next week we're going to be discussing Authors Republic, and we're going to keep on going with that theme for the next month and a half, 2 months, I think it is. So make sure that you stay tuned to today's podcast. And as per usual, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little plug here. Would you like to stay up to date on the world of self-publishing? You want insider news, intel, and secrets in the self-publishing before anybody else? Then subscribe to my email newsletter at dalelinks.com/sign up. Every week I send out about 1 to 2 emails spotlighting all the info you need to know when it matters most. Again, visit dalelinks.com/sign up to subscribe today. I promise your email's in great hands. It's not like I may be beating you up or selling it to anybody else. It stays with me, and you're going to definitely feel it's worth it. I know there's a lot of email subscribers that really do enjoy the broadcasts I send out every week. So let's transition over to Findaway Voices by Spotify. Now, I might say Findaway Voices a couple times just because that's what it used to be called. Now we have to put the by Spotify part on there. I guess it's all about branding, right? So, Findaway Voices by Spotify is a platform that distributes digital audiobooks to 38 different retailers, library systems, and subscription services. Now, this was founded in 2016 by the parent company Findaway, which was originally based in Solon, Ohio, which just north of me. I actually got a chance to visit their headquarters back then. These days, it's not so much the headquarters for Findaway Voices anymore because they are now exclusively remote. Spotify acquired Findaway, the parent company, for an estimated $119 million in June 2022. Spotify was doing this purposeful. They really wanted to get their foot in the door for audiobook sales. They want to be the competitor to Audible, and Audible needs some competition. Lord knows it'll help everybody else in the long term. In February of 2024, Spotify CEO Daniel Ek told investors that he was confident audiobooks would deliver earnings with profit margins of over 40%. And that tracks, to be honest with you. So Spotify continues to aggressively expand its reach. I mean, they're really trying to get out there in as many nooks and crannies as they possibly can. So that way, well, they're starting to dominate the global share of publication profits through audiobooks. Again, they're looking to take on Audible, and that's going to take a lot of work because Audible's really got their foot really cemented into this business. They're like the heavy player, if you will. So part of me hopes that there can be some viable competition in Findaway Voices, but let's take a step back here. I'm not going to go into a rant like I normally do. I want to be able to give you guys all the information, and I'll give you some of my opinions, sprinkled throughout, and I'll give you a heavier opinion towards the end here. Now, when you sell through Findaway Voices, it's an 80-20 revenue split in your favor, meaning that you get 80% of net profits coming in to you, and Findaway Voices gets 20% of that. There's one exception to that rule, and we're going to discuss that as we kind of break down each one of these avenues. So they currently have 38 avenues you can distribute to, and this unique distribution model has a variety of ways that they sell or distribute your books. So you'll want to make sure that you visit the link inside the show notes to actually get a breakdown of each one of those. So a la carte, which means anytime someone buys one copy, you're paid for the one copy. There's unlimited subscription, credit-based subscription, combined portions subscription, pool subscriptions, and cost per checkout. So I want to take each one of these avenues one by one, but you have to be aware that some of these avenues lean on different types of payout models. So rather than trying to bog everybody down with those details, I'm just going to give you the hard numbers here. Audible, you get a 25% royalty. Now, remember, you're doing an 80-20 split on that 25% that's going to Audible. Okay, just keep that one in mind. There's every one of these ones I'm going to mention, except for one of them, there's always an 80-20 split. So this means that Audible has a 25% royalty put in place, meaning they take 75% of all sales of your audiobooks through their platform. They send that 25% over to Findaway Voices, and of course, Findaway Voices takes 20%. You get 80% of that 25%. That makes sense. 24 Symbols, Barnes & Noble, Click Digital, Downpour, Kobo, Libro.fm, My Audiobook Library, Bookmate, Next Story are all 32%. Downpour also has another model in 40%. I know it seems like I'm being redundant, but believe it or not, they have a couple of different models that they pay through. 24 Symbols, 3 Leaf Group, Apple Books, Bocus Play, Books A Million, Chirp, InstaRead, Kobo, Libro.fm, My Audiobook Library, and Radish all pay 45%. Now for library services, you've got Axial, Baker & Taylor, Biblioteca, Follett, Hoopla, MLOL, Odillo, Overdrive, Olverscroft, Wheelers, 3 Leaf Group, Baker & Taylor, Biblioteca. I think I'm repeating myself. That's all 45% right there. So through each one of those ones. Now, audiobooks.com, Audiobooks Now, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Spotify are 50%, with the asterisk being placed right next to Spotify. Because since Spotify owns Findaway Voices, they were like, man, we don't feel right double dipping here at this point. So they removed the 80-20 split. So anytime you make a sale through Spotify, you're going to get 50% flat. That's it. There's no fees removed. You just get 50-50. Not bad. I mean, that's not even something that ACX offers. I mean, you go exclusive through them, they give you 40%. You go non-exclusive, it's 25%. You want twice as much? Just go on over to Spotify and you could be able to get the 50%. There's that. Hoopla is based on a cost per checkout model. And in fact, in their words, they said royalty payouts will be generated based on the total duration of the monetized content. And they break that down again on that link inside the show notes. You can be able to see exactly how it breaks down. 0 to 90 minutes is like, I can't remember, like 24 cents. So you have to kind of go over and review those things. Now, as far as audiobook files, it's all 100% DIY. So you need to come to Findaway Voices with everything already sorted out. They used to have a marketplace. In fact, it lasted all of maybe a year and a half. And it was rather defeating to see it kind of go away. Both rights holders and narrators were left scratching their heads, kind of going, what the heck? But if you've got it all dialed in, if you find a narrator on another marketplace or elsewhere, it's essentially the same specs as what you do through Audiobook Creation Exchange, just a little less rigid. Because the funny thing is, I went and produced an audiobook at a local studio for about $50 per hour. I had him dial everything in according to ACX specs. We put it through ACX's Audio Lab. All the files were pushing through, no problem, right? No, not right. Okay, it passed through Findaway Voices, no issue. When I put it through ACX, it was rejected. Both of us were scratching our heads. We're going through, we're fixing it, we're trying to get some answers. Eventually, ACX, we just gave up on it, said, screw it. And that was the Amazon Self-Publisher. So if you're ever kind of wondering, like, why is the Amazon Self-Publisher series available over on Amazon on audiobook? That's why, because ACX, for whatever reason, tells you to dial it in a certain way. You do it properly through Audiolab, and then they push it through and go, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. What? I'm not going to start ranting about ACX because we're talking about Findaway Voices today. Now, Findaway Voices also accepts AI-narrated audiobooks. Now, this is not through all of the retailers, just some of them. You know, for instance, Google Play Books allows for that to happen. You can also set your own price. In fact, I don't know of any audiobook distribution platform right now that doesn't allow you to set your price other than ACX, where they're just like, hey, how long's your book? Well, it's going to cost this much. That's stupid. I don't like that system. I don't think anybody enjoys that system. The nice thing about Findaway Voices is they let you set your own price. And they even encourage you to set a higher price for library distribution. Keep in mind, that if you're putting your audiobook into library distribution, this means that one copy is going to be checked out numerous times. That's why you would probably want to move your library price a bit higher. They suggested, I believe, 2 to 3 times higher. It's at least what they originally had suggested. They've since removed that verbiage. So the nice thing is, though, if you're a bit indecisive about pricing, well, Findaway Voices offers suggested pricing based on length too. They're not holding you to using that. They're just going to go ahead and suggest that. So they'll suggest a good retail price for your audiobook through regular distribution and also a separate one for the library distribution. Big bonus for Findaway Voices is the fact that you get 100 promo codes for Spotify. Now, they have no cash value. In other words, if somebody takes the promo code, they cash it in, they get the audiobook, you don't get paid a dime. The whole purpose of that is to promote your audiobook. So that way you've got more people listening to it and hopefully leaving a rating for it on Spotify or even a review elsewhere. So that is a really, really nice thing. I really like the fact that we don't need to jump through hoops. You look at a platform like ACX where it's like, yeah, you can get 50 in the US and UK, but you got to use 25 first, and then 10 of them need to be redeemed, and you got to scratch your head and rub your belly. What? Why are you making this hard? Just give me my promo codes and stop making it so difficult. And Findaway Voices must have heard me because they're like, here's your promo code so you can stop bugging us about it. Great. That's fantastic. Love it. And let's go ahead and just address the fact that, well, Spotify is available in numerous regions throughout the world. Audible is too, but for whatever reason, ACX only gives you promo codes for the US and UK. What about the other regions? You're on your own. So Spotify knew what's up. They knew, okay, we got to see about filling in this, void here that authors really need to be able to tap into. So 100 promo codes, love it. Now, how does Findaway Voices pay you? Now, they pay 30 days after the close of the month in a few different ways. Direct deposit's probably the best way because there's no fee whatsoever. But if you start to lean into places like PayPal, a check or wire transfer, there might be a fee involved. Of course, with PayPal, I think it's might be 2.9% plus a 49-cent per transaction fee, that type of thing. So I've used direct deposit, love it. Now, there is a $100 minimum payment threshold you need to be aware of. Now, let's go ahead and attack a few miscellaneous items here. Very first one is the marketplace. They had a narrator marketplace that you could be able to work with people that were a part of SAG-AFTRA, and for whatever reason, within about a year of it being available, they took it down. I imagine it has a lot to do with their pro-AI stance and their work with SAG-AFTRA. This is just conspiracy theory here, folks. But it seems awful suspect that they removed the marketplace after a lot of people got a little bit ruffled about, using their voices for AI. Yeah, and so then they knew that they had to kind of jump through some hoops, and they said, well, screw this. We got to maintain this whole marketplace. We got to deal with all this stuff. No, we're good. Let's go ahead and pull the plug. Call it a day. Go find your narrator somewhere else. Yeah, that wasn't a cool move. I didn't like that. I didn't like that whatsoever. Now, I don't use any of the narrators in the marketplace, but I will tell you this, that I hear from a lot of people, whether it's by email or direct message or even through some of my comments on my videos. Some people are like, what the heck, dude? They removed our marketplace. How do I contact anybody that need to get it done? Now, there are other ways. I'll save that for a future podcast because there are other places that have marketplaces. Primarily ACX is one and Authors Republic's another one. And you can also go over to the Allies Watchdog list, which is available at dalelinks.com/watchdog. I didn't put it inside the show notes, but you could probably figure out how to find that. But dalelinks.com/watchdog. Use the search feature, put audiobook in it, and you'll be able to find a bunch of narrators that are endorsed, or not endorsed, but they've got the stamp of approval by the Alliance of Independent Authors. They also used to have 43 different avenues to distribute your book through. And slowly but surely, they've been removing some of those options. In fact, 5 altogether, because it's down to 38 as opposed to the 43. Now, I hope it was just in the best interests of their account holders that they removed those things. And unfortunately, I don't know the ones that were off the top of my head, but they did remove them nonetheless. And it kind of stinks. but I hope they did it for good reason. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The recent changes in terms of use back in February 2024. Oh my Lord, they went for the largest rights grab in the history of self-publishing. They were wanting irrevocable rights. They wanted to use it on spinoffs and they wanted to use everything they could and abuse. And the funny thing is, everybody read it because why? Well, Findaway Voices is very smart in the fact that they changed their terms of use. They emailed all account holders. Hello, KDP. You need to start taking notes on this one. You changed the terms of use. Great. Send me the email. Everybody paid attention because just a year or so prior, someone had discovered that we were agreeing to having our audiobooks used to train AI over on Apple. And whoa, everybody's kind of going, no, that's not cool. We don't want that. Like, you're just going to do it for free. You're going to use my stuff. You're going to use my voice. You're going to use my likeness. You're going to use my content. No, it wasn't cool. So at any rate, yeah, people pushed back hard. Oh my gosh. It was a bloodbath. When you have Victoria Strauss of Writer Beware write a piece on you, you know you done messed up. So within 24 hours, they ended up getting it all fixed. And they were like, whoa, hang on. You misunderstood us. They changed those terms altogether. No, we didn't misunderstand you. You guys messed up. That was the big thing. You messed up and you messed up big time. They walked it back and it was a lot more understandable and there was no rights grabs that were happening there. Yeah, that was an ugly situation. And I will say this, a lot of authors had told me pretty much they shut down their Findaway Voices accounts. They were very unhappy. And I said, hold off, wait, give them a second. Yeah, within a couple days, they had fixed things and it was back on track. Now, my other gripe I want to discuss is having the option to distribute through Spotify. Now, it's great you're doing the 50%. Fantastic. That's awesome. But when you distribute to Spotify, it's sold in two different ways. It's done through a la carte sales and also Spotify premium subscriptions, because Spotify premium subscribers pay X amount of dollars per month and they're able to listen to all the Spotify stuff and blah, blah, blah. And they get about 15 hours of listen time for audiobooks. And I think they can also upgrade for additional amount of hours or whatever, but it's paid differently. And to me, I think if you're going to have two options like this, they need to give it to us to where we can select and deselect those options. Because I want Spotify a la carte, but let's just say, for instance, Spotify Premium is not paying me very much through that. I would like to remove that and not take away the a la carte sales. So people at Findaway Voices by Spotify, if you're paying attention, give us two options. I've already put in a request for this, and I don't know, I think it fell on deaf ears, but give us the option to select and deselect both of those avenues. Hey folks, get all the latest news and updates in the world of writing and self-publishing when you subscribe to my email newsletter at dalelinks.com/signup. You'll get 1 to 2 emails per week, no filler or fluff, all value. Again, subscribe at dalelinks.com/signup. A lot of people really enjoy my emails, and I think that you are going to enjoy it too. So go on over and get yourself signed up right away. Findaway Voices isn't the same company I fell in love with back in 2019. Now, I'd actually got them on my radar probably about like 2016, excuse me. Let me walk that back. I think it was about the time that they had struck a deal with Drafted Digital where you could be able to publish books through Drafted Digital and it would easily segue over into Findaway Voices where you can just move all of your metadata over there. And I ended up striking it off really, in a big way with the Findaway Voices team. But as soon as Spotify kind of came in, that relationship kind of turned sour real quick. Like it just devolved after a while. And I felt like, man, there's no love from their direction. They are all about the money. And it's very apparent in some of the things that have disappeared. I have to admit to you that the rights grab earlier in 2024 was a big turnoff to me. For that reason, my trust has been eroded. And it makes me reconsider going direct through Findaway Voices. I'll bypass Findaway Voices by Spotify when I can. For instance, I'll just go direct for places like Kobo, Google, Audible, or Amazon. Now, if I can choose a different aggregate audiobook publisher to reach one avenue, I'll use that way instead of Findaway Voices by Spotify, because I am not going to pay a company that is going to just all of a sudden say, we're changing things on you and we're taking your rights. And then when you push back, they go, oh, you misunderstood. No, we didn't really misunderstand. We read it loud and clear. There was a lot of lawyers that looked over your legalese and it's exactly what you're thinking. So the gaslighting right there just made things worse. Instead of coming out and saying, you know what? Wow, Carl over inside marketing, he did not proofread that. We went and copied and pasted it from our normal Spotify stuff and put it over here. Yeah, there was some people theorizing that that's what happened, but Findaway Voices by Spotify needed to step up and own that mistake. Instead, they decided they were going to gaslight all account holders and tell them, no, you're wrong. You misunderstood us, and then change all the terms of use, not even carrying over any of the stuff that you had before. I don't think there was a misunderstanding. And because of that lack of trust that I have in them, I can't wholeheartedly endorse Findaway Voices by Spotify these days. Use them for the niche avenues that you couldn't otherwise get going through direct. Otherwise, go to other places. You want Amazon and Audible? Go to ACX. If you want other places like Kobo, Google, Apple, Apple to a certain extent, you can't really do that, but you got Google and Kobo, great, fantastic, go direct to them. That's my recommendations. Should authors remove their books from Findaway Voices by Spotify? No. They course corrected immediately after that backlash in early 2024. If you're still reluctant, stay tuned over the next few weeks as I discuss other options beyond Findaway Voices by Spotify and ACX. Some alternative avenues are definitely worth considering, and some of them you may not have even heard of them before. Coming next week, we're going to lean over into another avenue called Authors Republic. And I got to tell you, I've been doing some research about them here more recently, and I was very reluctant about them initially. They're starting to step up their game. It's almost like they saw something messing up over in Findaway Voices and were like, hey, it's time for us to step up. Till next week, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I'll catch you then.